Your team is working on a redesign for Facebook Watch. However, you're seeing that this actually also caused a drop in likes and comments. Should you ship this? Hey everyone, welcome back to another Exponent product management mock interview. On today's show, we have Tatiana, and so we're going to be doing an analytical or execution type question. And before we dive into that, Tatiana, do you mind just letting the audience know who you are?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Tatiana. I've worked as a PM at both Facebook and Citizen, and I'm really excited to help you guys out and help you learn a little bit about the execution interview.
Great. So for today's question, let's imagine that you're a PM on Facebook Watch. So this is where people are coming to watch Facebook videos. So your team is working on a redesign for Facebook Watch, and this redesign improved the watch time. However, you're seeing that this actually also caused a drop in likes and comments. Should you ship this?
So first, let me ask a clarifying question, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Is this drop across the board, or is it in a specific market?
So this drop is just in the US.
And the increase of watch time is in the US as well, I'm
Correct,
guessing?
yeah. Yeah, so when we rolled this out, let's say that it was just in the US.
Okay, perfect. Cool. So let me take a little bit of time to figure out how I want to approach this problem. That's okay.
Yep, sounds good.
Okay, so let me start out with sort of my guess for why this could be happening, my hypothesis here. So I actually think this feature could be something like, a redesign where we're putting users in like a more full screen, more immersive type video that kind of sort of chains videos one after the other, that gets people to spend more time in the app watching videos because there's like less friction for people to go to the next one. But I think what a redesign like this might also trade off in the fact that it doesn't have those user generated content controls as front and center as if it were just like a small newsfeed post, for instance. And so something like that could definitely see just the reduced in prominence of the like and comment affordances in favor of just like a full screen immersive video that you can just go on to the next one without having to click a button. And that would definitely get people to spend more time in the app in a super immersive way. But it also would mean people are spending less time interacting with it via comments and reactions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so let's definitely think that this is what the redesign was. So I'm curious where you might go from here.
Yeah, so just thinking a little bit about Facebook's goals, in terms of like whether this makes sense or not. Facebook's goal is to make the world more open and connected by building community and bringing people in the world closer together. And then we also sort of have to think about Facebook Watch's goal as well. This team's goal is to connect people to the shows and the content they love. So a little bit more content based, but still definitely ladders up to that goal of bringing the people closer together by shared interest in content. There's a ton of comments there, a ton of engagement, and people connecting over that, creator communities and all of that. And so I think the way that Facebook will continue to succeed is to actually just like continue to keep users engaged and retained. And I think, when I first look at Facebook Watch goal and see it like, see that watch time increasing, this seems like a really good thing. I think we're fundamentally connecting more people to the content they love because they're just spending more time watching the content that interests them. That's why their watch time is increasing. This could also, Facebook also cares about revenue. This is something that's going to keep their business thriving. And if there's ad breaks, for instance, it can increase their revenue, which is something that's super core to the business. But I'm thinking also about the long-term trajectory of the company. I'm not so, and when you're thinking about the long-term trajectory, I'm not actually so sure that this is such a good thing, even though it really maps that Facebook Watch's core goal. Because I do worry about those core engagement metrics dropping, those core metrics, which are right, the likes and comments, which really drive a lot of Facebook's usage flywheel.
So can you tell me more about this flywheel? Like, why are likes and comments important? Why should we care about them?
Yeah, so likes and comments are super important because it gives people this like personalized notifications and draws people back into the app or the web experience. And so it's like, right, it's this flywheel of sharing where if you post some content, you post a comment, for instance, you get a bunch of likes and responses from either people you know or people you don't know. You're gonna want to come back to see what people are saying to you. It's like a conversation. If you're talking to someone on the phone or talking to someone in person, and they say a response to you, you're not gonna walk out of the room. You're gonna want to stay there. So that same principle exists with Facebook, where you want to see what people are saying to the stuff you create, and it sort of gives you that, keeps you coming back, keeps you spending time on the app, and so that's super important as well. So the drop does concern me, right? Like if people come back, they don't come back anymore because they're not receiving as many personalized notifications as before. They're not receiving those like that feedback loop of like getting likes on their comments or like, even their friends. Ad stories are a huge part of a Facebook's engagement. And so if I'm watching a video and I'm reacting to it, my friend can see what I'm reacting to the video and watch it and it gets a lot of enjoyment and we can talk about it. But that doesn't happen if I don't react or don't comment. I honestly I would say that I don't think we should ship this feature. That being said, I wouldn't like just immediately say like don't ship it. I think there usually is a way, and there might be a way that we can sort of mitigate some of these negative things. So first I would break down the metrics, seeing where the drops are coming from, the different parts of the platform, and try to tweak the redesign a little bit. Talk about like mitigation strategies, run mini experiments on top of it before we launch or
Sure.
before like we make a call.
Yeah, so let's say that I think your reasoning here definitely resonates, that we do care about engagement around likes and comments. It helps people discover and share their feelings about the content. And I think that we definitely do want to encourage such engagement in the flywheel on Facebook. So let's say that we are trying to think of some experiments, and we, in the current state, the video is shown in full screen, so it kind of hides some of these controls for likes and comments. So what's maybe an experiment that you would run with the team?
Yeah, so I would run like, there's some middle grounds where I can think of like the controls being easier to see. Like let's say in the redesign, like you had to like exit out of that full screen in the corner, like right here, right? There's like a little expand, contract, and then if you contract or don't exit out of full screen, then you can see all of the comments and everything. There might be some way, like if you move the mouse, those controls pop up, like the pause button and the progress. Maybe as part of that, you can also add reactions in a way to comment, like a comment entry point. It doesn't have to be the full comment bar, which, the more real estate you give to something, the more activity it will have. So I'm not saying it's going to totally fix, like that change probably won't fix the total drop of the comments and likes, but at least help a little bit. And then that trade-off becomes a little bit more manageable because time spent is a key metric to the company in terms of, or watch time and time spent. It's a key metric to the team and a key metric to the company, which is also really important.
So let's imagine that you ship this way that allows people to engage with the content more, and so maybe watch time is down a little bit, but now in the comments and likes section, you're seeing a lot of angry likes or angry reactions. You're seeing a lot of comments around very polarizing comments around maybe political things. So what do you do now?
Is it as a result of the change I made, or just in general, I'm seeing more of this?
So
detract from the experience.
As a result of the change you've made, we have seen that we're kind of helping users see that they can make comments and they can leave reactions more. And so now that this has been surfaced, we're seeing that more and more people are leaving divisive comments, for example.
Is this because is it more divisive comments as a percentage? Because if overall comments are increasing, good comments will increase as well as bad comments, right?
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. Maybe like we can look at both. So maybe the percentage increase or maybe overall increase, where you might go from there.
Yeah, okay. So let's say this is like actually more of a problem, right? So the percentage of negative comments is increasing because of the change. It's easier to comment bad things, for instance. So yeah, I think first I would look into like the design of what I've done and try to hypothesize about like, what could be potentially causing that. Definitely involve my team here, data scientist, designer. I would, if have we launched it yet? Like launched fully or rolled it out, or is it still a test?
No, this is just a test.
Okay, so that's good. It's just a small test, which means there's no like fire or nothing like a crisis where you're having all these negative comments. It's just a small percentage of people, so we have time to think about what to do. Yeah, I would definitely like break it down in terms of like different videos. Like, I ask all these questions about like what types of videos are getting these comments, whether it's like a type of video, demographic of person, is it certain parts of the US, age groups, etc. In the way that I would break down any problem, or for instance, like a drop in a metric, and try to diagnose where this is actually happening to get more information, more than just the general hypotheses that I come up with without diving into this, but actually start to narrow down sort of what the problem is. So if is it any of those things? Like, is it a certain demographic? Is it on a certain types of video or anything like that?
Yeah, we're seeing this mostly around videos that we categorize as being political.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So definitely that would point to sort of some internal type of, it is an internal change. So like that means that like those videos are there's definitely like some interaction between that feature and the users who are posting comments. So I would sort of like rule out any of the like, oh, is it like like a marketing thing or something. One thing that I would also want to look at is sort of like the external factors, like just to make sure that we're not like doing changes or making changes that are like, or assuming it's totally internal. There actually could be something, maybe there was like, a recent election, like, a midterm election or something like that, that, a lot of people are more politically engaged, and there's been some divisive campaigning, something like that is, and I guess that my question here is like, is there a campaign that's going on or something external that's causing these negative comments?
We're just seeing that it seems like now that we're making it easier for people to comment, people are just saying whatever they want, and so I guess my question here now is, how do you sort of prioritize or rank? Like, do we care more about watch time here, or if we do kind of prioritize engagement, likes, and comments, what do you do if you see sort of bad quality comments?
Yeah, so it definitely changes things that it's just the political videos. It means that the effects, the negative comments aren't like this overarching thing and that we absolutely must roll back. I think I would weigh the pros and cons of like, what does Facebook care about? And again, going back to what Facebook cares about, they really care about bringing people closer together, and sort of that engagement type metrics as well. So those metrics are all fine and healthy. However, negative comments create this really negative experience for people where they feel like they don't really want to engage. Some percentage, it might actually in the long term create a negative space for people, which leads down the line to actually less retention, less engagement, where people like don't really want to see all this negative stuff all the time. But again, and in my judgment call, I think like thinking about what Facebook really cares about in the long term as well as the goals, um, I think it's actually not big enough of a problem to warrant just not like rolling back the entire feature, where we're actually doing a lot of good with enhancing that mission of bringing people closer together, letting them react and letting them comment easily on the things that they like. However, if this problem gets worse, it expands to more content than just political videos, which is again a minority of the content on Facebook Watch. A lot of it is like creator content or like just interesting videos or like pet videos, animal videos or whatever. We see it trickling to those other fields getting larger. I would definitely keep it a watch, keep an eye out very closely on the percentage of negative comments. And if it gets worse, definitely reevaluate there.
Cool. Sounds good. So, I mean, that definitely is a very tough follow-up question, and I like the way you handled it. In reality, there's probably going to be a trust and safety PM that you can work with, and you don't have to make all these decisions yourself. But great answer, Tatiana. Thanks for your time on today's show. And I'm wondering before I give you my feedback, what are some things or some tips and tricks that you might want to share with the audience about how you answer the question?
Yeah. So for the first part of the question, it asks about just generally like, would you ship a product? I think a really easy pitfall to fall into is just throw out an answer and then backwards justify it. So what I did instead was I took a lot of time to think about the other side. Like I knew that right off the bat that we shouldn't ship this feature. Like that's just my intuition. Again, I've worked as a PM, so maybe like not everyone has the intuition, but even if you don't, I think it's really helpful to look at both sides and then, make a judgment call from that. It's really easy to, use logic after you've talked through both sides pretty in depth, linking it and always tying it back to the goals of Facebook and the goals of whatever team you're talking about if applicable. So that's generally the approach that I take on these questions.
Yep, that makes sense.
And then the second part was more about, a problem that we see and diagnosing like what's happening and whether you should roll it back or not. Just like make sure that you've exhausted all of your options. This is a different kind of question that's mostly linked to, a crisis where it's like a metric dropped 50% or something like that. This one's a little different and definitely a tricky one. So good on you, Kevin. But this one it's a little bit more qualitative where you're thinking about, okay, what is the feature that I shipped, and like, is it actually a really big problem? Just think about the size of the problem, and that sort of guides your North Star thinking there.
Cool. So definitely, I think your structure was great. So definitely when you're answering these questions, use some very good structure and outline it, and so that the interviewer knows what to expect. Because in your interviews, you probably only have 30 to 40 minutes to go through your question. So setting that out ahead of time definitely helps in terms of making sure that you're in sync with the interviewer. And I would also say that whenever you come across these sort of questions, it's always useful to think about, like you mentioned, the time frame, but also the geography, thinking about the variance, any seasonality effects, whether this is directly correlated to the redesign that you shipped or not. These are all good things to confirm. I think the last thing that I would say is when you do come across such questions like, oh, if X went up but Y went down, what should we do? Definitely think about what are some good instances when we do want X to go up and Y to go down, but what are some bad instances when if X goes up, Y goes down, we don't want this to happen. And so Tatiana outlined the flywheel effect around likes and comments and engagement and how it drives the flywheel effect with viewers. Definitely a good thing, but we also, you want to keep in mind what if there's worst case scenario, the comment section gets very popular and people are leaving very divisive comments. That was one example that I had in mind, but there certainly are probably other examples around when too much commenting might be a bad thing. So all in all, great answer, Tatiana. And for the viewers, good luck with your upcoming PM interview.
Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons below to let us know that this video was valuable for you. And of course, check out hundreds more videos just like this at tryexponent.com. Thanks for watching and good luck on your upcoming interview.